Let me ask both our witnesses. Secretary of Defense Carter and Attorney General Lynch have both stated that transfers of Guantanamo detainees to the United States are legally prohibited. Is that your understanding of the law as well?
It's my understanding of the law that that the statute, in its current form, prohibits transfers to the United States, which is why we are working at this time with the Congress, or seeking to work with the Congress, to modify the law in order to be able to bring into the United States a small, irreducible minimum number of detainees, as described in the President's closure plan.
Is it correct then that under current law, the Department of Defense is prohibited from selecting any U.S. site or making any preparations for transfer of detainees to the U.S.?
Frankly, I have no idea. That is a legal question that is most appropriately directed to the Department of Defense.
Mr. Lewis?
Mr. Chairman, we believe detainees can be safely and securely and humanely detained in the United States. I believe the current statute does prohibit us from doing that, so we are working towards doing that. The plan that was sent up, we gave a look at locations, military facilities, and federal and state facilities that could do that. We believe detainees, as I said, can be detained. We did not pick a specific location.
One of the concerns that Congress clearly has here is that in terms of our experience with those who have left Guantanamo Bay, over the long haul, those who have returned to the fight or those who are suspected of having returned to the fight is a little over 30%. I understand the argument that the administration is making that recent individuals released, they haven't returned. There's a lower percentage that return to the fight, but of course there's a continuum in terms of collecting the information and monitoring and transitioning as people end up. I'm just looking at the overall number. The overall number is in the neighborhood of 31%. And if we begin to focus on some of the recent examples of those who did, it is pretty concerning. Given Ibrahim El Kozi, he was one of the high-risk detainees transferred by this administration, and by 2014, he had joined Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, and now he is in their leadership. And last month, we saw a video urging a takeover in Saudi Arabia. Now, he would not be out doing his propaganda if he were housed in Guantanamo. And one of the concerns I have about the rap sheet on those inside as we make the argument, and we've been through these discussions, but we make the argument about the necessity of releasing them, but the fact is, the bottom line is, they end up, a certain percentage of them, pulling stunts like this, calling for the overthrow of the government in Saudi Arabia and very engaged in that process. And so, in terms of I understand the theory that it's a recruitment tool, that thesis. But the fact is that a significant percentage returned to the fight, and we have an unclassified letter to Congress last month from the Director of National Intelligence, writing that the intelligence community lacks reporting that Guantanamo propaganda has motivated more recent ISIS recruits to join the group. So there is a debate. I've certainly talked to former administration high-ranking officers and officials who have the opposite view of the view that you've laid out today, who tell me, no, they don't think it has to do with recruitment. We understand your theory on it, but there is the fact. And the fact is that we do have this process. So let me ask you this question. We do have this challenge because of the way this process is releasing individuals to countries that don't have the capability. So here's my question. Mr. Lewis lists in his testimony some of the countries that the administration has transferred detainees to since 2009. So, Mr. Lewis, El Salvador, Kazakhstan, Ghana, and I would just ask, Lee, have you been to Ghana? Now, this is one of the countries that I've been to. Are you fully confident that it has the capability and motivation to monitor and track these detainees?
Mr. Chairman, yes, we are. As you know, no transfer occurs unless we are confident in the security assurances that we've received, and the Secretary of Defense makes the requisite certifications to the Congress. To date, and we only have, admittedly, several months of experience, what I can tell to you, say in this open forum, and we're happy to come and brief you in closed session, is that we are very pleased by the implementation by the government of Ghana of the security assurances that have been agreed to.
As I say, I've been to Ghana and across West Africa. Ghana is a wonderful place. It's a wonderful country. But the fact is that it doesn't have top-notch intelligence or law enforcement services to deal with this kind of problem. The GDP per capita is like $4,000. It's 175th in the world. The fact is that their leaders have many, many challenges in Ghana, facing them every day. So I'm going to guess that tracking and monitoring former Guantanamo detainees isn't a priority, just as it wasn't in other examples that I've laid out for you, like Uruguay. It just wasn't a high rank, up there. And if they weren't returning, or if 31% of them hadn't returned to the fight, this wouldn't be a concern, Lee. But this is a very real concern. I'll go to Mr. Engel for his questioning.